Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing. It is Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G unboxing time. So I hope you're just as excited as I am. Here's the box. It says right here, Galaxy Note Ultra 5G. There's a Naime sticker on the bottom here. So I'm not sure which size they sent me, memory-wise, but here we go. Dun, 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 dun. What I do know is that just like the S20 Ultra, there's a divider here, and I do know there's nothing else in the box. There is the wonderful color that we should talk about. Mystic Bronze, of course. Well, this is empty, probably because it's a review unit, and some of these don't come. Not true. There we go. Quick start guide is all we have in here. SIM removal tool. This is a device that Samsung PR sent me, so thank you Samsung PR for getting me in early this time. Appreciate it. So there's not necessarily going to be everything in the box that you would normally get if you buy this. In the back, it's another language, so there you go. Now, what you've all been waiting for. Oh yeah, this is good. Nice. And then we have a divider here, and I already see that there's a charger here. This is probably the same charger as the Galaxy S20 Ultra. So USB Type-C on one end. Here are the specs. I'm pretty sure it's 25 watt. I'll put it up here so you know. It says here, super fast charging. All right, now we've got this little guy. Normally that's a USB Type-C to Type-A adapter, so you can connect a USB Type-A cable from another phone to do a wired transfer of all your data. This is not included in this review box. And then we have, also not included are earbuds. I'm not sure if they come with the actual final units, but here is the USB Type-C cable. This is Type-C to Type-C, as you can see here. You got Type-C both ends, obviously, since that's what the charger does. I really don't need this, so that's it for the box, folks. Let's have a look at the phone, because that's really what we came for, right? Ooh, what a beast. Let's remove some stuff. That's one. There's a little sticker back here, so I'm going to get rid of that as well. And then we've got this front one here. Ooh, that's very staticky. And that, folks, is the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G here, unlocked in its crazy mystic bronze color. Wow, look at this camera pod. That is something else. So let's turn it on and let me walk you through the specs. I mean, this is stuff that's a mouthful right here. So let's start with the display, right? Obviously, this is a 6.9-inch screen, Quad HD, 120 hertz. So it's either or, right? So you either run at 120 hertz and 1080p or at 60 hertz and Quad HD. As you can see, very little bezels. There's a little more down here on the chin and on the forehead. Of course, it has slightly curved edges, as you can see, right? So that means that, you know, it's got a bit of a waterfall screen, but it means the edges look like there's a lot less bezel. There is a hole punch for the camera, and of course an earpiece embedded in here. It's hard to tell in the camera, but I can feel it with my fingernail. So this front-facing camera is basically the same as on many Samsung phones. It's a 10 megapixel f/2.2 1.22 micron, but it has autofocus, which is cool. It does, of course, 30 and 60 frames per second 4K video recording, which is pretty awesome. So that's nice that it's got autofocus. Then we have this display, as I mentioned, and of course, what's under the hood? Well, depending what market you're in, you either get an Exynos or you get a Qualcomm chip. In this case, because I'm in the US and this is a 5G phone, I'm getting a Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 Plus with the X55 5G modem. And this obviously supports millimeter wave and sub-6 5G, which is great. So you have choices in terms of RAM and storage. You don't get a 16 gigabyte of RAM version this time like the S20 Ultra, but you do get 12 gigabytes of RAM across the board. You either get 128, 256, or 512 gigs of storage with microSD support. This is UFS 3.0 storage. Super fast, super nice. Yeah, this is pretty exciting, honestly. I like the way how square this phone looks. Like, I really think the Note industrial design really appeals to me. So let's switch to the back and let's talk about all these cameras, because there's a lot here and it's very interesting what they've done. First of all, the battery in here is a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. It's a little small in the S20 Ultra, but you know, it can charge at 25 watts fast charging, and it supports, of course, Qi wireless charging. And I believe it supports up to 15 watt Qi wireless and then 9 watt reverse wireless charging, which is pretty awesome. In case you're wondering, this phone costs $1,300 in the US, so you know, it's not a cheap phone, but it is got everything but the kitchen sink. The only thing that is really missing, frankly, is a headphone jack, but Samsung's done without the headphone jack since the Note 10 last year, so this is nothing new at this point. But to be complete, the kitchen sink should include the headphone jack, so there you go. Apparently there's even an FM radio on this phone, at least on the Snapdragon version, so that's kind of unusual. Of course, the speakers are stereo and cameras. All right, we got 3 rear cameras. We've got a very massive 108 megapixel sensor. That's the same as the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Now, this is an f/1.8, 108 megapixel sensor that pixel bins 9:1 for 12 megapixel output. The pixel size is 0.8 micron, so you multiply that by 3 and you get 2.4 micron pixels. Pretty amazing. Then we have a periscope telephoto lens. You can see it down here. It's that rectangular one there. And that one is a 12 megapixel sensor this time, not a 48 like on the Galaxy S20 Ultra. But it is 1 micron, 5 times optical zoom, and f/3.0. Then we have an ultra wide, also 12 megapixel, f/2.2, and 1.4 micron. So that's pretty good. And you know, I think that's also used for ultra stable video, just like on the S20 Ultra. So a lot of similarities with the S20 Ultra, except that the telephoto is now a 12 megapixel with a slightly bigger optical magnification at 5x and not a 48 megapixel at 4 point something magnification. So that's the biggest difference. But another big difference is that instead of a time of flight camera on the back, we now have a laser autofocus module back here. You can see it right here, the black thing. Of course, there's a flash here. So, you know, performance should be better for autofocusing. That was one of the challenges for the Galaxy S20 Ultra in terms of video recording. And so hopefully they fix that with the Note 20 Ultra. So that's basically it, folks. Obviously, this is a glass back, unlike the Note 20 regular, which has a plastic bag, which is ridiculous at $1,000. But this is $1,300. And this, although it's matte and feels very nice, very soft, is actually glass that's been etched, and it's pretty cool. Let me walk you through the edges. So on the right hand side here, you have the volume rocker and power lock key. Then on the bottom you have primary microphone, USB Type-C, and one of the 2 speakers, and of course the silo for the S Pen. Now notice this is the front of the screen right here. So the silo is on the left hand side this time, not the right. So those of you who are used to using a Note, previous Note, will find this slightly problematic because it's harder to change that habit, right, of pulling the S Pen from the other side. So this is the S Pen this year. As you can see, it's pretty similar, maybe a little longer than before. It has a button here, has the tip here, has the retractable bit in the back. And yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty much the same setup, just stored in a different side. Now the other thing is the latency is much lower, 9 milliseconds on this new S Pen, and there's a bunch of new gestures you can do with it. I think it's super gimmicky, but what do I know? I'm not a Note user. So I still think this is kind of like the mother of all phones, like that and the S20 Ultra, but I think this is a much better looking design. I think this camera pod, it's pretty thick. Look at it. It protrudes at least 3 or 4 millimeters. But it's much more aesthetically, cosmetically pleasing than the S20 Ultra, especially in this, you know, mystic bronze color. So I think they've done a pretty good job. But anyway, back to our tour of the edges. So on the left-hand side, you really don't have anything. It's just an antenna band. And on the top, you have the SIM tray, which is also a micro SD tray. And then you have another antenna band and the secondary microphone. And that's basically the layout for this Note 20 Ultra 5G. Pretty amazing. So again, expect some more content about this phone on my podcast. Since this is a complement to the podcast, please consider subscribing and telling your friends about the podcast, mobiletechpodcast.com, also on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Spotify. So please subscribe, etc., etc. And I've already discussed this quite a bit on the last two shows, but I'll probably be discussing it more very soon. I'll also have a review very soon, so check out the description in the video here in a couple of days, maybe 4 days or so, for a review link. And then please subscribe, like, tell your friends about this channel. Please click the notification bell below. Please comment below, tell me what you think. Also talk to me on Twitter at Tankgirl, TNKGRL, just like the comic book character but without the vowels. So find me there and chat with me there. And stay tuned for more Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G content. Cheers, everybody.